how to connect a Spring Boot application with PostgreSQL database, where this PostgreSQL is in Microsoft Azure, and let us see how it can be done. In the previous video, I explained how to connect or how to deploy Postgres database in Microsoft Azure Cloud. And this is the database, and this is our server name, B server. And under settings, here we have databases. So I'm going to click the databases. And I'm going to create a new database. Let us say this is student DB. Then click save. And here you can see the status. It is creating the database. So now it shows that it is successfully created. And we can see that here. Now I'm going to take the PG admin. And this is the newly created database. And here this is the table. Now there is no table inside. We are going to create table through the Spring Boot app. So let me open my IntelliJ IDE. I am going to create a new project. So I'm going to use the generators Spring Initializer. So let me give an example. Spring Boot demo, and the language Java. Maven is the build type, and I'm going to use Java 21. So I'm going with a jar. I selected Lombok. Then under the SQL, choose Spring Data JPA. Then Postgres driver. Okay, so I'm going with these three dependencies. Click create. Now under resources, we can see the properties file, that is application.properties, spring dot, data source dot URL. So first I'm going to set the URL. The protocol is JDBC colon PostgreSQL. So this is the protocol. Then colon double slash. If the database was in the local host, I could have kept like this. But now it is not in the local host. It is in cloud. I have to get that server name. And here you can see the server name is b-server.postgres.database.azure.com. So I'm just copying it. So instead of localhost, provide the server name, then colon. We have to mention the port number. To find the port number, Under settings, here you can see connect, and this is the port number 5432. Then slash the name of the database. So for that, go to the databases, and this is the database we are going to use it, student DB. Now I am going to set the username. For that, spring dot data source dot username. So I kept Bright as the username. Now I am going to set the password. So you have to provide the password which you have set in Microsoft Azure. And now we are going to set the Hibernate properties. Spring dot jpa dot hibernate dot ddl auto. We'll say update, or we can give create. So if we provide create, whenever you run it, the old data, everything will be removed. Then spring dot jpa dot hibernate show SQL. So I'm giving it as a true value. Now spring dot jpa dot properties dot hibernate dot dialect equal to, so we have to find the dialect class. So take the project explorer. Here you can see the external libraries. Just expand it. It comes in the package org.hibernate. Yes, here we can see org.hibernate.orm. Expand it. Under org.hibernate, still it is loading. Now my ID is very slow. I am going to restart my ID. So let us locate the dialect class org.hibernate. And here we can see the dialect. And here the class starts with the P, Postgres. Yeah, so this is the dialect class. I'm just copying the package. Dot, then the dialect class name. So the Hibernate properties are set, and our data source URL, username and password also set. I'm going to create a new package called model. Here creating a new class called user, and this is going to be an entity, so annotate it with @entity. We can mention what should be the table name equal to, we can say users. Then we can provide all argument constructor, then no argument constructor. There must be a primary key, that is why it is giving an error. For the primary key, I am creating a variable of type integer. Let us say this is user ID. Then annotate it with @id, @generated value, strategy, generation type dot identity, one variable for storing the username, so the string data type, then one more field that is for password. Now under this package Spring Boot demo, I am going to create a new package called repository. Then in the repository, I am going to create an interface called user repository. And this user repository extends JPA repository, and this is for the user class. So when you type user, you should be very careful, because the Spring framework provides a user class from this package, from the security property. So don't choose that, choose only from our model package. And the primary key, it is of type integer. Now go to our main class, that is the Spring Boot demo application. So here I am going to use command line runner. So the ID is suggesting some names. I am choosing the first one. Then put a set of parentheses and braces. Use return and put a semicolon. And mark it as a bean by using bean annotation. And declare a variable of type user repository. Create a constructor to inject the dependency for user repository. And through the user repository, we are going to call the save function. We are going to say the first user. So new user, ID will be automatically generated, so no need to provide it explicitly. Provide null. Username, let it be Bright, and password 1. So before going to run that, we have to see whether the IP address in Microsoft Azure is changed or not. So here, this is our server name. Go to the networking. Okay, here there is no change. If the system shows now add current client IP address with some IP address, it means your IP address is changed. Then you have to add that IP address. I'm going to run our application. Enable the annotation processing. Okay, process finished with exit code 0. It means there is no exception. I'm taking the PG admin, right click the database and click refresh. And here under the table we can see the users table is created. Right click and there is an option to view it. view data all rows. And here we can see the user ID, password, username. Next, I am going to pass another username. Work is password 2. Also, the process is exiting with the code 0, so there is no exception. I'm going to run the query again, and here we can see that the new username and password are added to the database. So all these things are happening on our cloud. So this is the database which we are accessing, the student DB. That's all. Thank you for watching it.